Guys, have you been looking for multi-effects pedals and come across the Donner Arena 2000? Have you seen all the reviews and decided that it is the right thing for you? Guys, I'm Rob with Underground Guitar Party. Welcome back to the party where we rock and talk about gear and stuff like that. Today, I've got in the shop, I'm gonna answer that question for you. Is this a good pedal? Is it for you? What does it do? I'm gonna share with you why I bought it and why I'm returning it. So stick around. It's gonna be a controversial one. I know that for sure. So guys, before we jump into this unofficial plug, if you'd like to support the channel, just use the Amazon links down below. Send me a cup of coffee through PayPal. Any of that works. If you find what I do helpful, go check out the undergroundguitarparty.com blog where we've got everything that we're doing here, videos, tutorials, always free over there. Everything is supported and sponsored by you guys so I can get the gear and share it with you. Guys, if I look familiar, you may have seen me on one of my other channels. I'm a photographer, wedding photographer, videographer. You might have seen me on Robert Ham Photography. So if I look familiar, you see this video in two places, that is why. Today, we're gonna jump right into it and we're talking about the Donner Arena 2000, which at first glance looks like a really awesome type of pedal that you might see. You've got the blockchain right there with different amps, pedals, and effects that you can put in. It's really cool. And when you look at it on the front, you might think to yourself, wow, this is exactly what I'm looking for. I'm going to jump right into it and say that I think that the sounds that this amp in a box gives you is really good. Calling it like a band in a box, maybe not so much, more like an amp in a box. There are some things that it does not do well. That's going to be the focus of what I talk about today. If you're the type of guy that wants to hear why something doesn't work in a situation, this is the video for you. However, I don't want to glance over the fact that this is a good product. I think that it's worthy of your money from some people. It's not worthy of mine because it does two things wrong, in my opinion. And not the least of which is how it presents itself. So let's go over here to the other camera. I'm going to kind of give that to you. If you look at this right here, you'll notice that you've got this little amp line going on. You got your signal chain. That sounds pretty standard, right? It is not touch screen, and that's fine, but it is touch capable. All of these little buttons light up and highlight as they touch, which works very well. You can turn different effects on and off by touching them and then using the rotary encoders. So that's the first thing I want to call out. I'll talk about the fact that this is not a touch screen and why that's important in a minute. But I want to tell you what I like about this before I just go into why I'm returning it. Number one, it does have what appears to be a solid build construction. Brushed metal on the front, anodized metal on the back, and lots of ports. There are lots of ways to get your sound out there. In this case, it's going to my field recorder. I've actually got a line out going to my amp. Today, I'm using the Fender Blues Deluxe reissue so that we can kind of hear some of it. And I've got my instrument cable coming in, which is pretty nice. And you can see you can do this all in mono or stereo. There's other ways to connect with your computer and stuff like that. You've even got a MIDI port. So that's really, really nice. When we look around to the back of it, you can actually see it's metal on the back as well. And that makes a big difference. On the front, when we're looking at it right here, all of these different things that light up, you can see as I tap it, it lights up. And when I tap it again or go back to the home screen, it turns off. When I tap these different things up here, it allows us to kind of go through all kinds of different setups so that we can adjust what we're doing. As I'm maneuvering over, we've got our drum machines and different beats, and we can even start and stop with the different kind of play styles that we've got right here. Am I at drums? No. Go back to drum. So we should be able to start. So you can hear some drums in the background right now. Stop is pretty easy, and we've got another one. So the foot switches work okay. Mine didn't. The left or A foot switch did not work. I had to fix that upon arrival. It was dead on arrival. And that's something I'll talk about. The encoder knobs that we have right here seem to work well. They actually switch and turn as you switch and turn them. So if you're doing something like this, you can see all kinds of things. The point that I'm saying is that I believe that the presentation is nice, that it fits well and it works well. I'm not going to do a lot of playing today because my complaint is not with the sound of this device from the simulations that it's giving with. My complaint is with the price of the device and what it does not do well. So we've talked about the things that I like, and I want to let you know right now that generally speaking, the reverbs and things, they sound pretty nice for you. Okay, so getting back to this, what I don't like about it, number one, this idea of the signal chain. As you can see right there, that's not true, okay? What that is actually showing you is designed to look like a Line 6 product or what is it, the Apogee, the Hotbox or something like that. It's made to look like, oh, you could arrange these effects however you would like because that's the arrangement that these other modelers have taken, that you could tap, hold, and move or use a rotary encoder to select one and move it someplace, and it would change your signal path so you could have effects that were pre or post other effects and things like that. That is not what this is doing. You cannot move any of these effects around, and these effects go in the specific order that they are listed on the screen, and that's it. And that list on the screen represents the same list that you see right here. So we've got a compressor, we've got a FXA, we've got a drive, we've got an amp, we've got a cabinet simulation, we've got an equalizer that you can do, we've got a noise gate, we've got FXB, we've got delay, and then reverb to the whole thing. This is kind of like how you might set up in a most normal path if you're going to use all that stuff, but you can't have any movement. You can only turn on or turn off these things. So, for example, if you wanted more than 3 effects or more than 2 effects, there aren't more than 2 effects. You've got FXA and FXB. If you wanted to pair those together without anything in between, on this particular setup, you would have to actually turn off all the things in between effects A and B. So, amp, cab, equalization. To turn off an effect, you tap it twice. Turn off that amp. Turn off the drive. Now we could have FXA and FXB if we wanted them side by side, but we wouldn't have the amp or the cabinet simulation, things along those lines. Anyway, when you get into them, the knobs that are up here actually work very well to give you your ability to control those effect and attributes, which works well. But the first thing that I think that we're doing here is if you're just looking casually and you didn't see it, and I heard no other reviewers mentioning it, this is not the DSP block style encoding that you're going to get for its digital signal processing, DSP. This doesn't give you the ability to move those things around, and that's one of the main powers of something like the HX Stomp, I mean, it just is. So you don't really get that here. So the next thing, what do I not like? I don't like the looper. The looper is terrible. Let me share with you something. I did not expect it to be terrible. This is the Donner Circle Looper. It's got 100 different drum machines in there, drum beats, including 10 metronomes, whatever. They're all pretty generic. They sound okay. They don't sound terrible, but it's got a countdown. So it's got a 1, 2, 3 before you start when you begin recording with the looper. It's got a nice display of what you're doing when you're looping. It's got easy overdubs, and it's got a synchronization button between your drums and your loops so that when you start it, whatever your BPM is on the drums, it will carry over from what you selected on your drum side. Also, when you're on here, you can select volume of your drums and your BPL, your beats per minute, as well as the level of each recorded track, and you have unlimited overdubs plus 4-minute tracks, which means you can load 40 different songs in here, 4 minutes length or less, with 99 overdubs per each song. So you could really layer quite a few different pieces to each song or each track that you want to save. You could then connect it to your computer with the Donner Connect, edit each one of those songs in memory 1 through 40 so that you would know the name of them, put them to a set list, and then show up and press go. And you actually have a solution that will work very well to one-man band it at a pub somewhere or at a little open mic night or something like that. So I was expecting great. This has all of these really cool FX and the features and cabinet simulations. I don't really want to use the cabinet simulations. I just want to use the effects. So that's okay for me. But it also has a looper built into it. And then I find out that the looper itself is only 56 seconds, not 4 minutes. That's an irritation, but okay, we can deal with that. You get 99 overdubs, to one loop. Right? I have no way that I have found on this device to have stored additional loops other than the one loop that's right there. We're on the loop right there. We can move it. We can name it. We can do all this other stuff. This bar right here that you see, that bar is whether or not the loop starts or stops and how far you are through it. I want to show you this. We've got what would ostensibly be a brand new loop. Here we go. I'm going to start it. Okay, so it has started. No problem. You hear nothing because it didn't even give you the countdown. Now we're stopping and it's playing. That's fine. Press your center button to stop, pause, and clear. Hold it and it's cleared. That's good to go. You saw that. But if you are going to use this as a device to create something at home that you could use out and about, it would be nice on your initial loop, your first loop, to get that count in 1, 2, 3. Now that might be a small thing. Some of you may not care. Some of you may be used to it the other way. However, if you're going to try to use this device as something that's going to allow you to create a production, that's one thing. The next thing is there's no way to synchronize your loop and your drum beats. At least not that I've found. If you know, let me know in the comments below. It won't matter because I'm sending this back anyways. But it will help others. Here, when you select drums on the right, but then move to the loop side, when you press play and you get your countdown, it's going to synchronize the drums with that countdown such that as it begins recording, the drums begin playing and you hear your backing drum track. Great. They don't do that here. So basically, you come over here to start with the drums. So I've pushed my drums. I have some drums set up. There's a little level control. We'll make it a little bit less, right? And now I can go ahead and press play. You hear the drums? Well, let me just do this for you. I've got drums cued, right? I come back to the looper and I press record or play. There's no drums that started. So I wanted you to see that. There's no way to link the drums. So the only way to do that is to come over here, tap drum, press play, come over here to the loop. Donner's got drums that have a 4-bar fill at the end of it. There's part of that fill. So now we got to wait again. 1, 2, ready, and 1, 2, ready, go. Boom. Now we're on it. Okay, so we're going. 2, ready, and 1, 2, ready, go. Boom. So we've got our loop. It's in there. You can kind of see it's doing its thing, but there was no count in. And in order to stop the drums, I'm going to come back to the drums and then stop the drums, and then I can come over here to the loop. And if it were playing, it would continue to be playing. I'd have to stop the loop and then clear the loop. So the point that I'm trying to illustrate here is simply that if you wanted to use this to create some, like let's say you played Morgan Wallen's Chasing You, and you wanted, that's a 3.5-minute song, 4-minute song, something like that. Number one, you couldn't load all of your chords into it. Like you couldn't play that in there ahead of time so that when you got to wherever you were going, you could just press go, right? Press play, and then play the lead or some fills while you're singing. You couldn't do that because it doesn't last long enough. The loop isn't long enough. Secondly, if you did that, you would have to start your drums first in order to manually synchronize them rather than them being synced with the loop. And that's a problem too because it doesn't work as well. It's not as easy. It's not as unified. And then finally, Donner already knows how to do this. They already built a good looping pedal. Then you might say, geez, Rob, you're still talking about this loop. Why would you? Don't worry about it. It's a $200 thing. Just get yourself if you like the Donner circle looper so much, go ahead and get the circle looper or just get the triple looper. Donner makes a triple looper for like $70. No. Okay. Here's why. You've already got this, right? And this is a $260 device that you paid $230 for, $239. Ships to your door after tax, $250. Then you have to put a $120 pedal on it, right? $250. Now you're up to $350, $360. Why not get the Flama Arena or the FP200? I know for a fact that it has been, I don't have that in hand, but the demos that have actually shown do exactly what I'm talking about. And here's something else. Why would I want to get this pedal compared to that one? I think, believe it or not, that the drums sound better from here than here. Now, that could be biased from me. That's totally fine. But I don't particularly care for the drums 100% anyways. But the drums in the Arena, to me, sound flatter than these drums in here. And that's everything from the hip hop all the way down to just your regular pop and your rock tracks. They're not necessarily inspiring drum tracks in the first place. There are other devices, I think, that do drums better, but keeping it talked about here between getting a pedal and to do the looping with the drums as well as the Arena, I think you'd be better off just buying the Flama at that point. And that's probably what I'm going to do. But there's something else. I tried to get this on my phone when I installed the Arena 2000 app, and I hope that I can insert some of this video for you if it recorded properly. Why do you have to have my location just for me to use the app? I can understand sharing the video and media because there are some functions the app unlocks of recording and things like that that might require those permissions. But I'm not going to give an app so that I can use a guitar pedal my location. Like every time I use it, it needs to know my location. It also asks if it can be on in the background. Just not happening. So I did not try out the app because I'm not giving anyone, to include Panasonic. I won't let them have my location when I'm using the app to control my Panasonic cameras. The difference is When I clicked no and denied the permission, the app freaked out. And every time I attempted to get it to move forward, it freaked out. I will give one fair disclaimer. I do use a fold, so the app freak out could have been a screen size issue rather than just dismissing the pop-up that says some features may be whatever. So all in all, it just was a bad experience for me. Remember, I think it sounds good. I think the effects are good. They're not bad. I don't think Donner makes really bad products in general. I think these effects are good. I've got a Donner Circle Looper. I liked the drums. They were okay. Nothing fancy. Remember, we're talking budget guitar equipment here. Like, there's a lot that this pedal does, and it could be the right one for you. I'm not saying that it's a bad pedal. I'm saying my experience was rough. And finally, guys, if you found this video helpful, if you heard something that you don't usually hear, if this was any way eye-opening for you, please don't forget to send me a cup of coffee using the Amazon and PayPal links down below. I truly appreciate it. And if you have an experience, don't forget to share your experience with me. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this. Again, I don't think that the effects sound bad by any means. My problem was with the implementation and the fact that it looks like it's a DSP block style amp chain, signal chain, but it's not. It's not acting that way. And the build quality that I got was a little janky. And the nail in the coffin for me, if anything else, was the app requiring me to give them my location and then freaking out. So that for me is a hard pass. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found this video helpful. I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Bye for now.